Canada to reduce emissions from oil and gas. So this is Canada's plan. This is on May 25th in Calgary, Alberta. The government of Canada is committed to moving towards cleaner economic growth while reducing pollution and providing a healthy environment for our children and grandchildren. Today, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Catherine McKenna. Announced regulations to reduce methane emissions and air pollution from Canada's oil and gas sector. In doing so, Canada's moving to catch up on the action already taken by the states such as California, Colorado. Canada's oil and gas sector is the country's largest emitter of climate-warming methane gas and a source of air pollutants. Methane is the... Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Peat moss, bogs, and methane. Temperature-induced increases in methane release from peat bogs. This is old. This is like 2012. How about something that's more new, you know? Wait. Estonia cuts carbon emissions by planting peat bogs. That's interesting. In Estonia, dried out peat bogs are big carbon emitters. The government wants to reverse that. Tiny country cuts carbon emissions by planting bogs. Isn't that interesting? That's interesting news. We should be planting more bogs. We are taking measures... Oh wait, hold on. Okay, in Tudu, Estonia. I have no idea where that is. Well, it looks like a typical northern European forest of scrubby Scotch pine, blueberry bushes, and ferns, about 15 miles inland from the Baltic Sea, turns out on closer inspection to be a peat bog. One that's been drained and mined. A 10-foot deep drainage ditch now covered in foliage still fills every time it rains. Furrows reveal where heavy equipment cut the peat into rectangular blocks about the size of toaster ovens, which were dried and later burned in homes throughout the former Soviet Union. And it wants to bring wet bogs back. Okay, bye. Why are you bugging me? Go away. Go away. I just want to read some information here. Go away! Oh, why aren't you going away? It's really slow. Okay. We are taking measurements to plan how big the dams are that we need, he says. Dams? He says hopping into the ditch and plunging a 5-foot long wooden stick into the neon green muck. The ditch is already covered with sphagnum moss and tussocks of cotton grass. If we get the water higher, there's a good potential these species will spread out and make it suitable for conservation. We are taking measurements and to plan how big the dams are that we need, he says. Hopping into the ditch and plunging a 5-foot long wooden stick into the neon green muck. The ditch is already covered with sphagnum moss and tussocks of cotton grass. If we get the water higher, there's a good potential these species will spread out and make it suitable for conservation. Along with a group of Estonian environmental scientists, shut up, I don't want to hear it. How do you not hear that? Shut up. Shut up. Shut up, I don't want to hear it. Go away. Stop. Along with a group of Estonian shut up! How do you stop that? Stop! Stop! Along with a group of Estonian environmental scientists, Salm, a stocky ex-graduate student now at the forefront of environmental policy here, is hoping to restore this bog to what it looked like before the 50 years of Soviet rule that ended in 1991. During that occupation, thousands of peat bogs across Estonia were drained, leaving an opening for forest trees and shrubs. Well, that might seem like a good thing. The problem is that these old peat bogs are leaking greenhouse gases, nearly 8 million metric tons per year of carbon dioxide, according to a 2015 report by the Nordic Council of Ministers. That's more carbon emissions than all of Estonians' cars and trucks combined. The CO2 comes from the thick layers of peat, mostly dead sphagnum moss, that is preserved in bogs by the wet conditions and by chemicals contained in the sphagnum. Oh, not more. How do you stop these? Like, that's cool. I like this. It's cool, but I'm kind of like reading this. That's more carbon emissions than all. The CO2 comes from the thick layers of peat, mostly dead sphagnum moss, that is preserved in bogs by the wet conditions and by chemicals contained in the sphagnum, both of which suppress bacterial decomposition of the organic matter. When bogs dry out, the cap of living sphagnum dies, and bacteria start rapidly digesting the organics below. That turns the bog from a CO2 sink into a copious source. And yeah, that poor gecko is going to die. Turning back the clock is simple in principle, says Salm. You just close the drainage ditches so the rainwater and snowmelt raise the water table back to the surface. Then you allow sphagnum and other native plants to recolonize the marshy ground. This year, with $8 million in funding, see, that's going to cost $8 million. If we have peat bogs that are already filled with water and that they're already cooling down the planet, why would we have to spend more money? We should just leave the peat bogs alone. They're doing their jobs. And there's this company here. There's this company here, Burger Peat Moss. Well, let's see. Burger Peat Moss in New Brunswick. He's a sod supplier. All right, they're digging up this carbon. Is a worldwide leader in the production of first quality growing media that harvests, transforms, and distributes products in a reasonable manner. I wonder if that's the same burger company. Mastering the craft of growing media. Burger is a worldwide leader of production of the first quality growing media. So this is peat. They're drying this up, and it's releasing all this methane gas, which is destroying the planet. They're destroying the planet. Maybe we should stop buying burger products. I wonder if there's a way to like stay connected. Oh, they're on Facebook. Grow with Burger. Vive l'expérience Burger. Whoa, whoa. No. It kind of zoomed out too much. Hold on. Hold on. Be patient. There. You can write something on this page. Oh, that's so cool. Oops. I kind of spelled that wrong. Hold on. Gauzes? Hold on. Where I had this page up a little while ago. Canada. Methane gas emissions. They're in St. Modest recovery campaign of Rivière to watch the full Shepherd capsule. They're broadcast here in the next few weeks. Let's see what they're doing. They're saying they're doing something here. That'd be interesting.
Une industrie de classe mondiale. Vous conduisez une voiture nord-américaine, il y a de fortes chances qu'une pièce mécanique signée moulage se prête.
Voici un petit...
AMT de Saint-Cyprien s'y retrouve. Près de 65% de la production d'AMT est vouée aux chaînes de montage automobile. Hors Québec, AMT fabrique des pièces d'aluminium destinées au marché de l'automobile, des véhicules
this is aluminum products.
Créatifs des secteurs médical et militaire. Un véhicule
for cars.
en Amérique du Nord comporte au moins une pièce produite chez AMT.
But that's... No, I want to know about... Hold on. That's not answering anything. Greenhouse gas emissions. Let's see. Tougher methane regulations to be phased in between 2020. Canada plans to phase in tougher regulations on emissions of greenhouse gases. Environmental groups disappointed by delay in limiting powerful greenhouse gas from oil and gas industry. Environment and Climate Change Minister Catherine McKenna speaks in Calgary about new methane regulations in the oil and gas industry that are to be phased in between 2020 and 2023. Canada plans to phase in tougher regulations on the emissions of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, but it will take between 3 and 6 years for the new rules to kick in. The proposed regulations would simply impact the oil and gas industry in Alberta and Saskatchewan, which is responsible for the bulk of methane emissions nationwide. New rules requiring companies to control methane leaks and the release of methane from compressors are to take effect starting in 2020. Together, those sources make up about 43% of total emissions related to gas and oil. Regulations on methane venting and the release of methane from pneumatic devices, which make up another 43% of emissions, will not come to force until 2023. So that's a long time from now. It says over here that methane emissions are 0 to 55 here in New Brunswick. But is that from oil and gas operations? Because what about in Peat Bogs? Well, Berger or Berger should not. I don't know what aluminum has to do with peat bogs. Yeah, that's weird. So, what are they doing to reduce methane gases? In terms of harvesting peat. Well, that's not very comforting to know that peat bogs are harvesting peat is so bad for the environment like that. To Salm and other scientists here, bringing back the bogs is an environmental 2-for-1. It shrinks Estonia's carbon footprint and creates new habitat for rare bog creatures like western capercaillie and the moor frog. When we restore these areas, we keep carbon in the soil and recreate conditions so that carbon is absorbed. But these bogs are also habitats for certain plants and animal species to live nowhere else. Scientists hope that by restoring Estonia's natural bogs, they can again serve as carbon sinks instead of emitters. You see, right now, if we leave the bogs alone, they're going to be what's known as carbon sinks. As soon as you start digging into them and drying out the moss, they become emitters. So that's not good. Like, what are you doing?